Hey, it's me, Mindark. 2019 is here, but I wanted to take a quick look at last year. We're not looking at games that came out in 2018, just games I personally beat. So they'll be pretty random. Sit back and enjoy. In January, I beat SteamWorld Heist that was given away for free through Twitch Prime. This is a turn-based strategy game that was released in 2015. You play as a group of steam-powered robots boarding enemy spacecraft. There are several different characters to use, which all play differently and can use various types of weapons and armor. I found the game pretty challenging for the most part. I did have to force myself to mix up my party as I went along. Early on I got too used to my initial crew, which is fine, but I felt the rest of the gang should see some action. Most levels have you either taking out every enemy on the map or just trying to get from point A to point B. My most hated levels are when enemies are endless. It felt like all strategy was just thrown out at that point. Overall, it was a great game and I do recommend trying it out. When playing a game, I usually try to fully complete it. Usually this just means obtaining all the achievements possible in the game. So, did I complete this game? No, I didn't. There is a new Game Plus mode after you beat the game, but I just felt, while I did enjoy it a lot, I had my fill. In October, I played another free game from Twitch Prime, Tales from the Borderlands. After beating Game of Thrones Season 1 and being extremely disappointed, I told myself I would never play a Telltale game again. But here we are. Tales from the Borderlands follows the normal Telltale formula, point-and-click adventure followed with a decision that affect the story. I thought this game was fantastic. It was hilarious, it was action-packed, perhaps some emotions were felt here and there. All the characters were just great. One fun addition to this game is that you actually have money that can be used throughout the game. If you save up money, you can get some pretty fun customization options in the later episodes. Did I complete this game? Yes, kind of, I guess. With no actual achievements in the Twitch Prime app, I did beat the game, and I suppose that was it. I beat 2 games in March. Microsoft had Xbox Live Gold for $1, so I picked it up. With it came Split Second. The only racing games I ever really play would be kart racers like Mario Kart. Not that Split Second is really a serious racing game. It's mainly about using your power play meter to cause explosions to take out opponents, or open up secret passageways to get ahead of everyone else. The single player campaign had a ton of variety in its levels, from normal races and time trials to seeing how long you can survive against transport trucks dropping explosive barrels in front of you. Beating levels earned you new vehicles as you went along. This campaign mode was not easy in the slightest, at least not to me. Then there was the multiplayer. One achievement required that you hit rank 1. You start at rank 100 and obviously rank up as you race online. The fun here was that a ton of people got this game for free just like I had, meaning there was an astounding amount of new players jumping in at the same time. I figure any other month I would not be able to complete these achievements, but thankfully I was able to unlock better cars quicker than the majority of the players and then outrace them to hit that rank 1. Game complete? You damn right. I finished all the campaign achievements, all online achievements, and each painful time trial, 2 of which were probably harder than any Dark Souls boss. The second game I beat in March was Tacoma. This exploration game has you exploring a seemingly empty space station. People may disagree, but I say the game in quotation marks. You travel from room to room using your AR tool to view recordings of certain events aboard the station. You can pause, rewind, and fast forward to these recordings. Also, because a recording occurs within an entire room, you'll have to walk around to see what different people are doing at any given time. It was a very fun experience and the story constantly had me guessing, but it is just a story. Nothing you do affects anything, to an extent. You merely see it all play out. Not that this was a bad thing, it was very enjoyable. I need to add that each character in Tacoma is compelling. I love getting to know each of them more and more as time went on. Did I complete this game? Well, I should say that there are various things you can discover that are not part of the main story. These discoveries will give you more insight into the people on the station. I did almost everything. There is an achievement to open every key code lock on the station, but because I entered a room in a certain way, one key code became completely unavailable to me. So no, I did not complete this game. In April I beat another 2 games. Again, off of Twitch Prime, I played through Kingsway, a roguelike RPG that had an interface similar to Windows 95. I thought it was pretty cool at first. You received new weapons and spells at a good pace, and most were pretty unique. The game has multiple endings that unlock multiple start classes. I beat the game on my first run and got the worst ending aside from actually losing. So did I go back and beat every ending and unlock everything? I did not. Nearing the end of the playthrough I just got over the type of game that this was. and I don't think I'll be going back to it anytime soon. In the last half of April, I beat the Turing test. My initial opinion of this game is that it was a bland copy of Portal. By the end of my play, that opinion did not really change. Some of these puzzles had me stumped and that was great, but I was not invested in the story whatsoever. The end should have had some sort of impact on me, but ultimately did not. With how boring this game was, did I complete it? Surprisingly, I did. It took just about 6 hours to finish everything the game had to offer. I'm not sure what I was up to in May, but I played the shortest game ever, Home, a point-and-click adventure game. At the start of the game, it suggests you play with the lights off and the sound turned up. It also suggests to beat it in one go, so I followed these instructions. Some aspects of the game were interesting, but not that interesting. All it had going for it was its story, and it fell flat. This is another game I failed to care to complete. There are a few endings, and I just don't feel like I'm missing out by not experiencing them all. Oh well. In June, I managed to finish Knights of Pen and Paper 2 on my Android phone. I played this mainly out of necessity. I was just looking to beat something that month. It was at this time I began to seriously look into getting an Xbox One or a PS4. Anyway, Knights of Pen and Paper, unlike the original, is a free-to-play game riddled with microtransactions. I just wanted to buy the game outright, but that option wasn't available to me. I wanted a classic RPG with some humor, and that's what I got, but I also got hours of boring fetch quests with a story that no one cares about. I actually did complete this game, DLC and all. I found a loophole, not on my own, but a way to get unlimited gems, which is in-game currency. These gems let me get all the DLC available. July. Halfway through the year I finally did it. I bought a PS4. I used PS4 that came with Final Fantasy 15 and Fallout 4. I began Final Fantasy 15, but it was not my cup of tea. So when a buddy visited for a weekend, we beat LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. Never really played a LEGO game before, but this proved to be a pretty funny action game. We managed to beat the game over 2 days. It was pretty solid, but we did experience 3 major bugs while we played, which required us to restart from the last checkpoint. Did I fully complete my first PS4 games? Nope! I do expect to sooner or later, but there are seemingly an infinite amount of characters to find and collect. I'll get there. Now we're getting to the good stuff. In August, I beat Horizon Zero Dawn. This game was near perfect. You're a ginger girl with a spear hunting down robotic animals and dinosaurs in a post-apocalyptic world. Combat was awesome, each robo-monstrosity has its own weak points to exploit, and each usually is affected differently by various elements you can use. You're given a few different weapons throughout the game, choose which works best for you. While the combat is a huge selling point, it's the story that made the biggest impact on me. All you know is that there are ruins of civilization everywhere, and the once peaceful robots are now becoming increasingly aggressive. Every piece of new information had me invested more and more. After each main quest, I felt the story became better and better. It's extremely easy to start a story well, but often hard to end it in a fulfilling way. Horizon Zero Dawn's world has you asking so many questions, and they are all answered so wonderfully. I happily completed this game in its entirety. One trophy requires you to beat the game on New Game Plus on the highest difficulty. If you enjoy this game, I recommend you try that out. It took me about 6 hours to do and was well worth it. I hope there's a sequel to this game in the near future. I never saw it coming. September I finished Persona 5. I had never touched a Persona game before, but I love RPGs. This is a game I never knew I needed. You have to juggle living an honest student life while battling in the metaverse. Each day in Persona 5 allows you to choose activities in the morning, kind of, afternoon and evenings. Activities include visiting friends to level your bond with them, improving your personal stats like knowledge by studying, and then there is visiting dungeons called palaces. All of these activities take time and you only have so many days to do it. The big aspect of the dungeons is using your persona, which gives your character certain abilities. You're able to convince enemy persona to join you, which you can then use. Later in the game you can fuse them together to get stronger persona with more interesting skills. The game is very long, but well worth your time. Now, at this time I haven't fully mastered the game, after putting in about 100 hours, but I'll be jumping back into New Game Plus as soon as possible. In October I finished up Marvel's SpiderMan. There were high expectations for this game and it did not disappoint. The game looked great, swinging around the city never got old, the combat was fun, giving you a ton of great Spider-Man gadgets, and the story was engaging and all the characters were very interesting. There are so many jokes that this game makes you feel like Spider-Man, but it does. It's not a joke. I think I finished the game in about 2 weeks, playing a few hours a day. It's kind of short, but I could not put the game down. At no point did I ever feel bored. The pacing of the game was great aside from the Mary Jane portions, which I'm sure a few will disagree with. There are a lot of collectibles in the game, but it felt natural and fun to collect them all. The only thing that got old in the end was completing a few district crimes to get a true 100%. The hardest trophy for me to collect was actually collecting all of the suits because I began running out of challenge tokens, which are only obtained through, believe it or not, challenge events. Most of the challenges are pretty fun, but getting gold on a certain type of challenge I could have done without. At the time I did fully 100% the game, but now that DLC has been released, it is no longer true. I'll have to go back and do that now. Later in the month I played Unravel 2. This is a pretty fun and rather simple co-op puzzle game. You're both yarn people attached together. The game was a leisurely experience, but can become rather difficult if you're talking about some of the challenge levels. I have about half of those completed, but the last half were more than I could handle at the time. I expect to go back and finish it all one day. One trophy requires you to complete all challenges in one run within a time limit. November was Ni no Kuni 2. I had never played the first one, and apparently this one is quite different. This is an action RPG that is very gear focused. Levels matter, sure, but the randomized gear that drops from enemies is what will really improve your team. Besides the combat, the main aspect of the game is building up your kingdom and finding citizens to work in it. I enjoyed this part the most. Every citizen has their own specialty, which will allow you to research different things, be it crafting better armor, learning new spells, or making dungeon exploration a little bit easier. One odd thing about this game is that the default difficulty is far too easy and boring. They actually added harder difficulties to fix this problem. I happily played from start to finish on Expert. Harder difficulties will also cause higher grade loot to drop, which is pretty fun. I did manage to master this game, which was not too time consuming at first. Free DLC added some fairly difficult content, which had me grinding to level 99 to actually complete it. Now newer DLC has since been released, so I'll have to go back and beat this game again in the future. Okay, December. I ended it with a bang, God of War. I've said it a lot already in this video about other series, but I had not played another God of War before. I don't know how different this game is to the others, if at all. This game blew me away. I love the world that was crafted. Kratos is awesome, his son is awesome. I was worried Atreus would be an annoying companion character, but that was not remotely the case. I believe I played on the easiest difficulty, which was the default, but hell, it was hard. Once you get used to the playstyle, and more specifically how the enemies fight, it does get much easier. The armor crafting in God of War was pretty cool. Oftentimes resources are scarce, so you really need to pick up and choose what you want to craft. You may craft an entire set of something, only to realize that you need that resource for a completely other set, and there was no way to replenish it. Learning Norse mythology as the game progressed was fascinating. Not knowing much to begin with, I had a ton of fun reading or hearing about the gods and their tales. Now how about trophies? Well, the majority unlocked as I played through the main story, but two stand out. One is locating all of Odin's ravens across the world, and that was the opposite of fun. I can't see how a person would track them all down without going insane. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't just follow a guide to get it over with. The other trophy is defeating some tough but optional bosses. The last one in particular took me 5 hours over the course of a few days. What's crazy is that I wasn't even sick of the fight. Just learning the attack patterns and getting better and better was a ton of fun. If you play this game and you're really enjoying it, I suggest getting the Platinum Trophy for sure. So, as you might have guessed, I did complete God of War 100% and I enjoyed almost my entire time with it. It deserves 2018's Game of the Year. And that's that. Looking over my list shows I don't fully complete games as much as I think. I'll have to do a little bit better in 2019. Finally, I can't end the video without a top 10. I'll just throw this right up here. There you go. Now the top 3, God of War, no surprises there, Horizon Zero Dawn, and then SpiderMan. Truthfully, 2, 3, and 4 are all kind of tied, but that is not how lists work. That's all I guess, so there's about 1% chance I make another video in the next few months, so look forward or don't look forward to that, whatever. Later.